Hello, my name is Cheryl Meyer, otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse, and I am a health coach. I want to welcome you to my podcast, It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health. This is a weekly show that will share lifestyle changes that you can make to support your health yourself. Why do I want to share this information with you? 7 years ago, after being a business owner for 20 years, I woke up one morning in horrific pain where every bone and every joint in my body hurt. I went to the doctor. She ran lots of tests, and then she ran some more, and then she ran some more, and finally she called me and announced she was going to give me steroids, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with me and I should seek therapy. I knew something was wrong. I hurt. So she told me I would be on steroids for the rest of my life, and I refused that I was going to have a life of pain and pills. So why was I going to take steroids if there was nothing wrong with me? So I dug in and started researching, and I turned my business over to my staff. I found a functional doctor who confirmed that I had autoimmune disease. By making a series of significant lifestyle changes that I could do for myself, 5 years later, I had returned to relative health. The best part is that I am now 70, and I feel better now than I did when I was 50. I no longer hurt, which is huge. I will always have autoimmune disease, but losing the pain has been amazing. I went back to school at 67 and became a health coach because I want to share everything that I learned with others. And I wrote a book called It Feels Good to Feel Good, Learn to Eliminate Toxins, Reduce Inflammation, and Feel Great Again, as the manual I wished that I had had when I got sick, and my book has won 13 awards. So whether you want to future-proof your health and grow old with dignity and grace without dementia and chronic pain and disease, which you don't need to get, or whether or not you already have a chronic condition like autoimmune disease or cancer or heart disease, and you want to learn about what things you can do to improve your long-term health, or whether you want to improve the health of your families and raise healthy children, because 53% of our children have a chronic condition, I look forward to sharing all this information with you. I will tell you, it truly does feel good to feel good, so let's get started. I look forward to having you join me here every week, and I want to give you hope that if you have chronic pain or chronic disease, you can make changes that will improve your health. And if you don't want to go there, you're going to be fine if you listen to the show and put these things into work. I want to give you information so that you can grow old and have a better tomorrow. So thank you for joining me. Let's get started. Hello, welcome to another edition of It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health. And where I ended the last podcast, which was all about all of the many reasons why it is worth it for you to eat organic. Today, we're going to start off with why it's important to eat organic meat, and then we're going to talk about ways to save money so that you can afford to be buying all this organic. Because frankly, what you're going to save in health costs is going to make it more than worth it. What we put into our bodies is what we become. And if we are very careful and we eat quality food, we give our health a boost instead of detracting from it. So this is important. We do eat meat, but we eat what I call clean meat. We eat meat that has eaten his own species-specific diet. So I want to talk to you about why and what that means, and then we'll go off into how to afford to eat organic, because truly, you can't afford not to. So we'll start off with the number one reason why to eat organic or animals that are raised mostly eating grass is because they're not given antibiotics, growth hormones, and they're not fed animal byproducts. That's a biggie. You want to be eating meat that is not fed antibiotics and growth hormones, because what they eat is what you eat when you eat them. You are what your animal eats. So this is an important thing for you to remember. How do we afford to eat organic meat? Because yes, it is a little bit more expensive. We eat a little bit less so that we're spending exactly the same amount of money, but we're spending it on quality food. And that's the key. Everything you put into your body, you want to have be quality food. Now, we're lucky because in Sedona, we have a rancher who also, like me, has autoimmune disease. So we buy our beef from him because we know he treats his animals very humanely. He loves his animals. He talks to them the whole time he's raising them. And part of the time they eat grass, and the other part of the time, when it's winter and they can't eat grass, he feeds them the organic hops that is the byproduct of the organic brewery up in Flagstaff. So his animals are very healthy, very well fed, and none of it has chemicals in it. That's important for him as well as for the animals and then for the people who buy their meat from him, because he was reacting to his own meat because he was feeding them feed that had the chemicals in it, and now he is not. So, and this meat is more delicious than any beef I've ever eaten in my life. And since we're buying directly from the rancher, it is very affordable. It's much less expensive than if we were buying it from one of the high-end organic grocers. So the first thing I suggest to you in terms of finding quality meat at the right price is see if there's a rancher around you that is having cattle and free-run chickens that are pastured and lamb that are in their own pastures, and you're buying directly from him. So you're cutting out all the middlemen, so you're saving money. Now, we don't have that advantage when we're back in LA, although we have been known to bring some meat back to us from Arizona. But what we have here is an outstanding fish lady who is in her family business for 40 years. She has the best seafood I've ever eaten in my life. So we get sustainable, healthy, wild-caught seafood that's absolutely delicious. Now, wild-caught seafood is not inexpensive. So again, we control that by eating quality, but eating a slightly smaller portion so that we're paying the same amount of money, but what our bodies are getting is only premium meats and fishes. You want to avoid anybody who's putting hormones into their cows or their lambs or their pigs or their chickens, because those hormones go right into your body. And we are having a problem with children reaching puberty at ages as low as 8 years old from the hormones that are being added to the poor cows and the other animals where you're getting your meat. This has been linked to many kinds of diseases in the past, which include skin, lung, ovarian, and gallbladder cancer. The hormone is in the pesticides that the food is sprayed with, and it's a direct contributor to major health issues in our society, such as obesity. So there are many health benefits beyond what we've discussed about eating organic meat, but you don't want the hormones, you don't want the pesticides, and you don't want the antibiotics. If you remember that, you'll be good. One of the reasons we're having a problem with antibiotics when we actually need them is because there's so many in our animal meat. And I know as a child, because I had horrific allergies, I was given tons of antibiotics. And it's really hard for me now to find an antibiotic that my body will respond to. And I don't think that's unusual for people my age because antibiotics were given too frequently. And all of us have built up some intolerance to antibiotics. So when we do need them, we want to have them available for us to take. So you certainly don't need to have them in your animal food. And think about why they're giving the animal antibiotics. They're giving the animal antibiotics because he's not well. And they want him to stay well as long as they can till he hits your plate. So buy clean meat that's eating what he's supposed to eat without all the garbage. You also want to avoid animals that have been abused or not treated properly because they then release stress hormones. And trust me, you're releasing enough stress hormones on your own. We've talked about how I want you to breathe and I want you to do little stress busting exercises every morning and every afternoon. The last thing you need is to be getting additional stress hormones from the meat that you're eating. Organic food also means less appetite enhancers that are put into the meat. Factory animals don't have much of an appetite, so because they're getting to eat stuff that they would not normally eat, that's not species specific to them. So they're given appetite enhancers, which when they get into your body makes you hungry. So they screw around with your own natural appetite hormones, which are leptin and ghrelin. So, and you already have enough trouble keeping those even in working order, because if you're eating any processed food and fast food, they're getting dampered down from that. So eliminate places where you're screwing around with your hormones. Your hormones need to be in balance, and you don't need them from other sources unless your doctor finds that you have a deficiency and actually prescribes them for you. Heart-breaking living conditions, high stress, biologically inappropriate food, no exercise for the animal. Who can blame them for not wanting to eat? To fix this problem, instead of actually fixing the problem, farms feed their animals appetite enhancers. These appetite enhancers are then passed to you in the eggs, the milk, and the meat of the animal. If you're buying organic meat who is eating his own species-specific diet, then you're not getting that crud, and you don't want it in your body. This means that you're also not getting exposed to the antibiotics and the hormones when you're eating clean organic meat that's been pastured. Then you're not getting any of this stuff. So I know you're thinking they're such trace amounts. Does this really matter? Yeah, it matters a lot. And it's worth the money to buy quality meats. So I don't even think most people are aware that all this crud is in their meats. You want to eat clean meats and you will notice a significant difference. You will feel better and it tastes better. So all the way around, it's a win-win. Now, we used to eat like 2 to 3 hamburgers at night for dinner. And now we don't. We eat one and that satisfies us because the appetite enhancers are not in the animal that got him to eat, so they're not in his hamburger for us to eat. So all of this impacts every step of the way, our bodies as well. It also, if he's eating his own species-specific diet, it's keeping him healthy, and that's important. No sick wild birds, no dying sea or freshwater life, no infertile wildlife from chemical exposure. It's better for the environment. It's better for our groundwater. It's better for the planet. It's better for everything. There are also more healthy fats in organic meat that's eating his own species-specific diet. Organic products can have as much as 50% more omega-3 fatty acids. And omega-3 fatty acids are the ones that are really healthy for your body, that your body utilizes for its brain and your body utilizes for all of the membranes around your cells. Omega-3 fatty acids are a type of unsaturated healthy fat, and other than conventionally produced products, according to a 2016 study in the British Journal of Nutrition, even organic milk tested in the study had less saturated fat than non-organic. So you want the good fat, not the saturated fat, and so you want milk from pastured animals, from organic sources, and you want meat from organic sources. These differences may come in the way of the way that the organic livestock is raised with a grass-fed diet. So you're looking for grass-fed, grass-finished beef. I read an interesting comment a couple of weeks ago that we're kind of being conned because if it's not grass-fed and grass-finished, All cows eat grass in the first stage of their life. So they're still eating all that icky GMO feed, and that's the stuff that you want to avoid. By buying organic or pastured meat that's grass-fed, grass-finished, you're only getting the good stuff, and that animal has been fed the good stuff all through his life. There is a thought that from switching from conventional to organic products would raise consumers' omega-3 intake without increasing overall calories or saturated fat. And that's true. So just another good reason why it's worth it to buy organic meat. Genetically modified in our crops are defined as things that would not have happened in the course of nature. So I want to talk a little bit now about GMOs and what they are, because they're proving hazardous to our bodies. I don't know if any of you remembered when GMOs were actually on the ballot in California, and there was so much misinformation. It failed because we didn't understand what the heck it was all about. Well, as I have explained, most genetically modified foods are one of two things. They have Bt toxin grown right up into the plant so that when the bug bites it, it blows them up. And so there's a bigger yield from the plant because the bugs aren't destroying it. But unfortunately, when it gets into your gut, that Bt toxin is also blowing up all your good gut bacteria. So you don't want that. The insect resistance means that it has chemicals grown right in it. The second kind of genetically modified is plants that have been made Roundup ready. Now, we've talked a lot about Roundup because Roundup is glyphosate, and glyphosate 2 years ago finally lost a lawsuit, and in their depositions, they discovered Monsanto had known for over 20 years that glyphosate was causing cancer in humans. Before that point, the World Health Organization said it was a probable carcinogen. Well, it's not a probable carcinogen anymore. And unfortunately, while all this lawsuit was going on, unfortunately for Bayer, they bought Monsanto. So they inherited all of the jeopardy and have paid out over $80 billion to people who have been harmed by glyphosate. But the bad news is glyphosate is still being sprayed on our crops. Our wheat, for one thing, is still getting drenched in glyphosate, which is why I also strongly recommend that you only eat organic wheat products. Buy organic flour, buy organic bread. It is starting to be more available out there. I know Whole Foods has several organic types of bread that they sell. We have a bakery in both Sedona and another bakery here in Pasadena that makes bread out of organic grains. It's important. Do research, find it. You do not need to be eating wheat that has been drenched in glyphosate. Not good for you, not good for your family, not good for the environment, not good for anything. By doing all of this stuff, the plants that are sprayed and treated are disease resistant as well. GMO papaya from Hawaii or China, zucchini and yellow squash, they all have been genetically engineered to resist specific plant diseases. Scientists have expressed alarm that there are numerous ways that these foods could cause health problems, and yet no meaningful safety studies have been conducted. So you'll see that those are fruits and vegetables that you want to eat organic. Both Hawaiian papaya and zucchini and summer squashes, you should only buy them organic because you don't want the crud that they're growing into them. And then the next thing is it's synthetic biology. Scientists can design and construct new biological parts, devices, and systems, such as synthesizing a new sequence of DNA and insert it right into the cell that has its own DNA removed. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd sort of like to eat the plant that is growing the way God intended it to be grown, because he's obviously going to be better for my body. I don't want a plant that has had something else's DNA spliced into it. So these are all the reasons to stay away from genetically modified and animals that have eaten genetically modified feed. Scientists have also engineered microorganisms such as bacteria and yeast that has additional genes, and these genes create proteins that are then used in products, including food, starting back food and medicine. And they've been doing this starting back in the 1980s, where a Japanese corporation used GMO bacteria to create a health supplement, L-tryptophan, that actually killed 100 Americans and caused 5,000 to 10,000 people to fall sick and become permanently disabled. I remember it well. I'm old enough that I was actually taking L-tryptophan, and I was lucky because I had a friend who was a genetic scientist at the University of Ohio that when he saw that I was taking that supplement, put up a red flag so quick, he grabbed the supplement and he threw it out and said, never again. That he had started reading studies that this had been so spliced and controlled that it was causing illness in humans, and he did not want me to be one of them. Other food products on the market that are produced with GMO bacteria or yeast include aspartame, Impossible Burger. One of my doctors that I follow is a doctor that's a heart doctor, and he put out a statement, friends don't let friends eat Impossible Burger. So if you've been eating Impossible Burger, it's all genetically modified. You don't need it. You don't need it in your body. So stop it already. There are lots of ways to make vegan burgers that have nothing to do with Impossible Burger. Vanilla has also got some of this bacteria in it. Recombinant bovine growth hormone is also being produced now using this method. So know what goes into your food and really be vigilant to make sure that you're only putting quality food into your body. You don't need all these chemicals. You don't need all these things that have been tampered with. The next one is gene slicing, or RNA. Short strands of RNA have the ability to silence and alter the activity of genes. Some GMOs are engineered with genes actually designed to create such RNA, which then will silence a gene. Examples include the non-browning potato and apple. You don't want to be eating GMO apples and potatoes because those chemicals are not good for you. And they haven't been studied long enough to know what dire effects they're having on the human body. So I just vote with caution. Since my body is a little smoke alarm that goes off when there's any kind of a chemical in my food, and it's what helped make me sick, you need to be vigilant that you don't want to be eating this stuff either. So make sure that you're eating apples that are not genetically modified apples, and potatoes that are not genetically altered potatoes. They also do things so that the eye won't grow in a potato. Yeah, it's kind of annoying that the eye of the potato grows, but buy your food as close to being farmed as possible, which is better for you anyway, because that's when you get the most nutrition. Don't buy so far out that they're sitting in your bowl in the kitchen forever growing eyes. Buy food and cook it and eat it for maximum nutrition. Numerous scientists, including some that worked at the USDA and the EPA, have expressed concern because research suggests that RNA, the mechanism, can actually alter non-target organisms. In other words, pests, animals, and even humans that consume these GMOs might experience altered gene expression. Doesn't sound so good to me. Unfortunately, no research has been conducted on the GMO apples and potatoes to rule this out. The driving factor was the inflated claims that were being made for GM crops. The public was told that they would make agriculture more sustainable, that they would provide higher yields and would feed the world's growing population. They would reduce pesticide use and help meet the challenges of climate change. They would produce more nutritious foods and make farming easier and more profitable. Ends up, none of it is true. We knew these claims were at best questionable when they were making them, and at worst that they were false. Genetically modified has not provided a single crop that has sustainably delivered these benefits, and they're not feeding the world. If we really want to feed the world, we need to stop food waste. We can feed the world just with all the food waste that we have, from farms, from our kitchens, from grocery stores. We waste an unbelievable amount of food. And if we would find a way to recycle and recirculate the food that's still good, that could feed everybody on this planet so that no one was hungry. So I would rather find solutions geared around food waste than geared around genetically modified things that are tampering with the way nature wanted them to be. What are the disadvantages of buying organic? They are more expensive. One of the reasons is because of the heavy federal paperwork that is required to prove all of the qualifications for organic. So they don't care. There's no paperwork for conventional farming. They're spraying all the poisons on it. They're doing all the conventional methods of growing the plants, and there are no downsides to doing that. But if you're doing the right thing and you're growing organic crops, you have additional expenses and controls on you from the government. So that's a good news and a bad news scenario. The good news is when you buy certified organic, you know it really is certified organic because they jump through hoops to prove to the government that they have followed all of the organic regulations. But the bad news is that this is forcing the price on organic foods higher when there is absolutely no control on the unhealthy elements of conventional farming. So you need to understand that that's one of the reasons organic is more expensive. The next one surprised me. Factory farming is heavily subsidized, making conventional food considerably cheaper. Your tax dollars are going to factory farms. They are not going, except in a very tiny amount, to organic farms. So that's driving the price of conventional farming, factory farming foods down, which makes organic foods look like they're more expensive when it's really not that much more expensive to grow organic crops. So if they were on an equal playing field, organic would be very close in price to conventional farming, but they're not on an equal playing field. So go to farmers markets, go to the farm, do things where you cut out middlemen to get quality food, and that will even the playing field so that you're getting higher quality organic food at a better price. There are additional costs from organic farming. There's an additional loss of crops, both to insect invasions as well as contamination by inorganic substances like GMO seed that gets into an organic field, which then nullifies all the organic growth and vegetables that are growing in that field. And unfortunately, GMO seed has been known to ruin way too many organic farms by cross-pollination, but that's a topic for perhaps a different podcast. The extra labor that goes into the farm, the need to allow the field to rest, the extra land needed for the humane care of animals, and much more goes into the higher price of organic food. We hear a lot about methane gas coming off of cows. That is part of climate change. Methane gas from factory farming is a far bigger issue than from animals eating grass and his own species-specific diet. Just another great reason to be eating organic beef. Conventional farming is unnaturally cheaper because of all these government subsidies. Our government is protecting big ag for our food supply. So it's really not about health, it's about money. Money, honey, always rules. 80 to 90% of what you see is actually coming from subsidies. Barley, corn, milk, peanuts, rice, soy, sugar, and wheat. And yes, even conventional factory farmed meat, eggs, and dairy. Those cows, chickens, and pigs are fed subsidized corn and soy. that's genetically modified that has the Bt toxin in it. So that's why they need the antibiotics and they need the extra loving care, because they get diseases because they're eating the toxins and the poisons. You don't want those toxins and poisons. Organic food subsidies are a mere 0.2% of that annual budget. Even oil subsidies affect the price of food. It's much cheaper to spray a petroleum-based fertilizer that's been subsidized than it is to use a non-subsidized organic option. So I tell you this so that you don't go, it's too expensive. There's reasons that it's too expensive, and there are health benefits to the reasons that it's more expensive. And somehow we need to convince our congressmen that organic food and what it does to our health is more important than subsidizing all of the conventional farming. So here's why our food system is broken. A farmer can spray chemicals to kill bugs, then spray more chemicals to kill weeds, and then add chemicals to the soil, and we require no labels that they have done that. But if a farmer wants to use the certified organic label, they have to pay a bunch of money and fill out loads and loads of paperwork to prove that they didn't use chemicals. Just know that if you are buying something with a certified organic label, you are protecting your body from all those poisons. Now, as I have mentioned, we buy quite a bit of organic produce that is not certified. We buy it either directly from the farm or we buy it from our farmer's market. The key here is to know your farmer. We talk to them about how they're growing their plants. Are they using different plants around the plants that keep the bugs away? There are all kinds of ways that organic farmers do farming without all the chemicals and the toxins and the poisons, and let them tell you what they do. Somebody said to me, how do I know they really do it? Well, I do know that the farmers markets we go to do vet the farmers that are there. And other than that, I'm a city girl, so I'm trusting that they're telling me the truth. But I'm getting variety that I'm not getting from factory farming that's available at the grocery store. So that's my first clue, that the farmer is probably telling me the truth about how he's growing things, because he's growing seeds and plants that are not readily available in other places. So at some point you have to do the best you can and then hope for the best. If you're buying from a farmer's market, you're buying in season and you're getting the best possible price, and it is not that much different from what you're buying that has all the chemicals in it from factory farming. Okay? So let's get into how to eat organic on a budget, because that's the place where people get stumped. And there are things that you can do so that you can buy organic on a budget. I have talked before that there are two services, and we have used both, and I like both. One is Imperfect Produce, and the other is Misfits Market. Now, what do I like about these two companies? Number one, they deliver. What's not to love about that? They are saving food waste because they're taking organic produce that has been grown, that has little hiccups to it. It might have a little extra bend in it or a little extra knob on it. Who the heck cares? It is the same beautiful nutrients that you would get from a perfect organic piece of produce. So I love the fact that I'm saving food waste, and I love the fact that I'm getting quality organic produce. You also can get more variety when you use these two services. The most variety you're going to get is either directly from the farm or the farmer's market. But not all of you have farmer's markets year round. So go ahead and try the Misfits and the Imperfect Produce, because they're both wonderful sources of great produce. I'm going to put a picture over this right here with what I got for $30 from Imperfect Produce. It's a lot of vegetables and fruits. I want you to see what you can get because it's worth your money. So my question is, what would happen if everybody ate lots and lots of fresh organic food that was minimally processed? We would have an epidemic of health. I'm telling you, what's wrong with our healthcare system is it can't keep up with how much standard American disease we're getting from eating all of these chemicals in our food. So if you want to stay healthy and you want to get the best bang for your buck from your health insurance, we all need to join together and help the poor health insurance industry out by not eating all the chemicals and the crap, because then we won't be so diseased and we will have a healthier society that doesn't need so much insurance. Remember, if you don't take care of your body, where are you planning to live? Okay, so have I convinced you that eating organic is better for your health? Let's start there. Food is fuel for the body. I think we forget that what we're eating is fuel for every cell in our body to be able to maximally operate. If it's good fuel, it gives us energy. It makes us clear-headed. It makes us happy. It gives us energy. It gives us brain power. If it's high-quality food, it makes our bodies feel good, and our bodies literally sing. When I started eating real food and I started eating organic, I was surprised at how smart my body was, because it started to say, yes, I like what you're eating, and I'm starting to feel good. Good fuel tastes good. One of the things that happens when you start eating good fuel is your taste buds change and you start tasting all of the good, wonderful tastes of real produce. You don't need the chemicals for a variety of reasons. Good food makes your body feel great, so it is more than worth the food that you eat, and it consists of whole foods that don't have chemicals in them. There's a lot of bad food that also tastes good. They're actually adding all those taste enhancers to processed food to make it taste like real food, but it's not real food. It's just chemicals. So do your body a favor and start feeding it the real thing. That'll give your body nutrients to function on and will eliminate all the chemicals that are harmful. MSG, remember, that's in our processed food is now under 39 different names. MSG is a neurotoxin, and so you don't want it. I think pretty much everybody knows that MSG is not good for us. There's been a lot of publicity about it, but I don't think people know that it comes under 39 different names on their processed food, and that one of the ones that they stuff it under is called natural flavorings. That is often MSG. So if you see that, either call the company and find out what exactly is natural flavorings, or just don't buy it at all and protect your body. If you have a child, this is even more important. If we want to safeguard our children to grow up in healthy bodies, we need to feed them the real live food that's loaded with nutrients and that doesn't come with a healthy dose of toxins. Remember when I told the story in a different podcast of the 3 little pigs? You have a choice. Are you building the straw house, the stick house, or the brick house? I was only building the straw house, and that's one of the reasons that I got sick. Eating the foods that build the stick house still doesn't protect you against everything, but it does at least give your body some phytonutrients that it can function on. But what you really want to be doing is building the brick house, and you want your children to be building the brick house. And how does that happen? It means you're giving your bodies real, beautiful phytonutrients from all the colors of the rainbow, from a farm as close to you as possible, so that you're eating all of those delicious phytonutrients that there are 50,000 different types of now, so that you can build cells from quality building supplies and have the brick house, so that when the wolf comes to blow at your house, it stands when other people who are eating fast and processed foods houses crumble. If you have a chronic condition, it can actually be this simple. The body wants to heal, but you have to give it the nutrients that it needs, and it will. There is no pill that's going to go abracadabra and bring you back to health. Pharmaceuticals, and I'm not saying that we don't need them, but pharmaceuticals just mitigate the symptoms. They are not curing anything. Whereas if you start eating real live food with all these beautiful phytonutrients, you can actually start to cure some of the things that are going wrong in your body. Eating real from a source close to you can bring you back to relative health. And I am an excellent example of that, as well as several of the people that I have interviewed on my Tell Me Your Story podcast. So go back and see if any of those people had a problem similar to yours, a chronic condition similar to yours, and hear what they did to return back to relative wellness, because I do those podcasts to bring you hope that you have more power over your body than you realize. The further the food is from the harvest, the more flavor and nutrients are lost. Now, we don't all have a choice about that. Some of us live where produce is not grown year round. So buy it when it is prime, freeze it so that you have it all year round. You'd probably need to have a big freezer in order to do that. Or go to the farms and get a box of whatever it is they are growing at that point in time, and that's what you eat for your produce. Join a co-op so that you go to a certain location and pick up a box of assorted produce. Buy a CSA box of whatever is in demand at that point in time that has been grown, and get a CSA box, because again, you're getting prime nutrients and whatever's in that CSA box. Then next up is to buy from an organic grocer. Now, it may have traveled a long distance, but you're still getting way more nutrients in that than you are from the things that are factory farmed, especially if they're flying them in from someplace like Chile. That's too far from the farm. Better than not eating real food at all, but not optimal. In order to find money so that you can afford organic, which is what I said we were going to be talking about here, you have to sometimes start by relocating funds. So I want you to take a hard look at your budget, just like it's a stock market portfolio or a savings account for a new car. If you want something bad enough, you've got to take some money from here and put it over there. So take a look at your budget and let's figure out where you could move some money that you're currently spending into your organic food budget. Are you stopping to buy coffee in the morning? Those coffees are expensive, and coffee is a dirty crop. So if you make your own organic coffee in the morning, you're going to start saving yourself a lot of money. So that's the first thing. I actually have a Melita coffee pot. I boil filtered tap water. I use organic coffee to make my morning joe. The pot and the cone are only $12.99 on Amazon. That's what, 2 cups of coffee from your local stand? And since I'm not paying over $4 for my cup at the local coffee chain, it will amortize itself very quickly. You only need to purchase inexpensive brown unbleached paper filters. I love a robust dark coffee, and I prefer to drink organic because I don't want all the chemicals that are sprayed on most coffee crops. And the brand that I use is Mayorga Cafe Cubana coffee, because I love the taste and I really like the philosophy of the company. I don't make any money by giving him a free ad here, but he started growing organic coffee to protect his coffee growers and to protect the communities that they live in. So he's a win-win all the way around. He keeps you healthy, he keeps his workers healthy, he keeps the communities that he's growing coffee in healthy, and as a result, he's doing his part to keep the earth healthy. I own a stainless steel carafe that keeps my coffee super hot. It's kind of like this. It will keep my coffee hot for up to 12 hours. This is my water carafe, but they do make them for coffee as well. So if I make my coffee, I can take it with me and have a fabulous cup of coffee, hot and ready to go whenever I want it. Avoid the paper cups that hold the coffee that have wax that has their own issues in my body. You don't want the wax either. The wax has chemicals in it that are not good for you. The second place to look is how many times are you going out to eat? If you're working in an office, are you going out for lunch every day? How much could you save if you took your lunch with you and then you go and you sit with your friends and go back to the office and you eat your lunch and then you go back to work? That's the second place that you can save money if you really want to have money to be able to buy organic. It might feel a little awkward in the beginning to be sitting with your friends and not eating, but your body's going to be way better off for it and much happier because you're only eating the quality food that you controlled, how it was made, that you're putting into your body. I personally do not eat the standard American diet in any way anymore because it made me sick and my body yells at me when I go there. So we're not going there again. I like feeling like this because it truly does feel good to feel good. So by taking your lunch, you're also ensuring that you're feeding your body quality food that's organic and loaded with nutrients. You're controlling what you're putting in your mouth and into your body. So stop eating out. That doesn't mean you can't ever eat out, and there are some organic restaurants out there that you can go to. But we're talking here about saving money, and the best way to save money is to cook your food yourself and take it with you. Most likely, most places that your friends are going to go is junk anyway, so now you're putting yourself as the priority to eat quality food. The next thing is, how often are you meeting friends and going out for dinner? You had to know that was coming since we just talked about going out for lunch. Eating out costs more money than cooking at home. So how about starting a supper club and meeting at each other's homes and eating in community that way? I am a very social person, so I'm not going to give up my community because I want to eat healthy, but I'm also not going to dictate to my friends that they need to eat healthy as well. What's been interesting is that my husband and I have become the influencers amongst our friends, and they're eating cleaner because we eat clean. And when I go to somebody else's house for dinner, we take our own food with us, and we take enough that everybody can have some. And trust me, I'm still a foodie, so I cook yummy food. So people eat my food and go, wow, this is healthy, this is organic. They love, nobody ever says, ooh, ick, I don't want to eat this, it's organic. So don't push anybody to change how they eat, but be the influencer so that they start to upgrade and eat healthier food as well. But if you start a supper club, maybe you guys all buy cookbooks that are paleo that you cook out of when you have each other over for dinner. And that way everybody's happy and everybody gets clean food. If you are committed to healthy eating, cooking for each other will bond you, and you'll be together closer and support your efforts better to feed your body what it needs without giving up the joy of community. It makes getting together fun, and you're trying new recipes, and you're trying new ways to make food, and you're sharing healthy ways that you made food. And if everybody buys in that it's being part of the supper club means they're going to cook healthy, then this whole thing will work well. And it will save you money because you're not going out to expensive restaurants and you're controlling what you're putting into your mouth. It also lowers the cost of drinking alcohol. How much does a single glass of wine cost when you go out? What better way could you use those funds? For the same cost or less, rather than buying and sharing a bottle of wine in a restaurant, you could drink a fine bottle of organic wine as part of your supper club, and everyone could enjoy it. It will be less expensive. Each glass of wine that everyone drinks is less expensive, and again, grapes are also a dirty crop, so you're not getting all the chemicals that have been sprayed on the grapes by buying organic wine. So it's a win-win-win. I'm not suggesting that you give up drinking. As I talked about in the liver podcast, women are recommended to only have one drink a night. Men are recommended only to have 2 drinks at night because that's better for your liver, and as goes your liver health, goes your body's health. I'm not recommending that you not drink at all, but I am recommending that you drink without the chemicals that have been sprayed on whatever the drink was made from, and that you start saving money by buying the full bottle and serving it with your friends at your home in your supper club. Now, let's talk about snacks. And let's start with why you want them in the first place. If you've eaten a healthy meal where you've gotten all your micronutrients, your carbs, your fats, and your proteins, if you've broken your addiction to the chemicals and the sugar in processed and fast food, which is a biggie, then you're not going to be as hungry and you're not going to want all those snacks. And all of the snacks that I recommend are healthy snacks. I'm working with a client right now who wants to eat snacks. She hasn't completely gotten to the point where she wants to give them up. So I recommended that she buy the things on my snack list and put them right on her kitchen counter so they're in eye view. So when she wants to go munch on something, she can go into the kitchen. They're easy, they're right at eye level, and they're things that she can grab. I also recommend that when you buy your vegetables, your preferably organic vegetables, you get them all ready to eat in your refrigerator at eye level on a refrigerator shelf so that if you want something to munch, you make different kinds of dips. You have a guacamole and you have a ranch dressing and you have an organic onion dressing and you have some homemade hummus. All of those are infinitely healthier for you, and your vegetables are all ready to go. So it doesn't take you any time. You just go in, you grab the vegetables that you're going to use instead of potato chips or things with chemicals, and your dips are all ready to go. You can also make up little containers and put them in little stainless steel lunch boxes to take for your afternoon snack at the office. There are ways to do this if you're committed to eating healthy. So it comes down to, are you committed to save enough money so that you can eat organic, so that you can eat for your future health? You will save a lot of money by making your own snacks and not by buying junk snacks or organic junk food. There's a lot of organic junk food on the market. So think in terms of making spiced nuts ahead of time. There's a recipe right on my blog, on my website for that. Or eating celery and nut butter, which I've loved since I was a child. Or eating already prepared cut up vegetables with homemade hummus. Do you know how easy it is to make hummus? I like to make it out of organic white northern beans. You throw them into your little Cuisinart. I have a little mini chop. You give it a spin, you add a little bit of hummus, you add some real garlic and some real seasonings and a little bit of olive oil, and cha-bing, cha-bang, you've got hummus that's quite delicious and has no chemicals in it. So all of those food additives are gone, and what you have is just premium good nutrients for your body. You can also bake occasional treats. Now, one of my favorites is Daniel Walker's Real Deal chocolate chip cookies or Nom Nom Paleo's cherry chocolate scones. The cherry chocolate scones are the number one thing my friends invite me to bring when I go over for like a brunch because they love them and they are really quite delicious. They're made with almond flour, so they're loaded with nutrients all the way around. You can also make your own crackers, and I have cracker recipes on my blog, on my website. My website, by the way, is CherylMHealthMuse.com, and you'll find under holiday recipes all kinds of recipes for making homemade crackers and making holiday cookies and making holiday dips. So you can also look for paleo recipes and come up with lots of happy organic recipes on your own. So you don't have to stick to just what I use. But since I don't eat snacks a lot, when I do make my snack foods, they are refreshing and lovely, and I enjoy them because I haven't been eating them every day. There's a flax cracker recipe in my blog that I can't eat flax now. It's one of my 18 food sensitivities, but they are really delicious. And before we figured out how terrible I was sensitive to flax, I was teaching all my girlfriends to make them because they loved them and they really are yummy. They don't take a lot of time to make. So the fact that I want you to cook and control what you put in your body is not a difficult thing for you to do. It doesn't take that much more time, and then you're doing your body a favor by giving it just wonderful things. If you want to stay away from the pain, all of this will help you stop inflammation and return to wellness. So the next thing on the list is stop buying sodas. Both the kind with the fake sugar and the kind with the real sugar cost a fortune, have absolutely no food value. They have been called gut rock, and they are terrible for your body. I have another client who is now, I think, 2.5 years away from drinking diet soda. And she still, every once in a while, will stop in front of the diet soda machine and go, I might really like to have one of those. And then she goes, no, it's not worth how icky it makes me feel, and I feel much better not drinking it. You'll also save a lot of money by not drinking it. So what do you drink for fun instead of buying pop? I infuse water in my refrigerator with lemon and cucumber, or with berries, or just put slices of lemon in my water, which makes it yummy. And the lemon actually helps it turn alkaline when it gets to your stomach. So it's like drinking a very mild lemonade. It's delicious. There are things that you can do that are more refreshing and much more fun to drink and more colorful than if you're drinking that icky chemical soda. So stop it already. You can always add a little touch of liquid stevia or a little bit of monk fruit to your water that has been infused with something else. But you want to stay away from anything that has dextrose in it. A lot of stevias have dextrose. You want something that is only stevia. Same thing with monk fruit. You want something that's only monk fruit. And they come in little carryable bottles that you can take with you everywhere you go. I bought half-gallon glass bottles on Amazon that I make my water in. These are more ideas of what I put into my water: berries and peaches, blueberries, lemon and cucumber, raspberries and mint, raspberries and lemon, watermelon, cantaloupe and honeydew, strawberries, mint and orange, pineapple and ginger, cucumber and lavender, mint, basil, lavender, rosemary and thyme, apple and cinnamon, tangerine, grapefruit, and strawberries. All make for delicious beverages. And a touch of monk fruit, which is my new favorite way to sweeten, and you've got something rather terrific. Okay, the next place to save money is to reinvent your entertainment. Now, we've all sort of had a lesson in this since we've been on lockdown with COVID. I know we aren't going out to the movies or for entertainment nearly as much because we're watching Netflix and Amazon and cable shows that have even first-run movies on them these days. So you save a lot of money when you're buying a monthly service on your entertainment. And play songs on your machines so that you have fresh music all the time. And listen to music in your car. Going to concerts is not necessarily a good thing anymore because a lot of people haven't been vaccinated and aren't wearing masks, and COVID is still rampant out there, and you don't want to get it, trust me. So take that entertainment money and put it towards feeding your body quality materials. The next thing is make your own cleaners. Now, mostly we use a cleaner called Branch Basics. It comes in a concentrate, and then we dilute it different amounts depending upon what cleaning job we're going to do. But I also use hydrogen peroxide and white vinegar to clean my kitchen counters and my cutting boards. They are very inexpensive, and they also will clean just about any kind of germ that you want to make sure is not going to harm you. So make your own cleaners. I can spend less than $3 on a whole bottle of cleaner, and it will last me for months. So that's another place to free up money for organic food. Boom. Waste is a 4-letter word. So this is the next place where you're going to save money. America wastes over 30 million tons of food every year. Remember, I said that we could feed the world if we would just stop wasting all that food? So we need to find a way. I know that here in LA, there are places that are picking up the food that didn't get eaten and using it for food banks, which is a great idea. If you don't have that in your neighborhood, then get involved with a group and see if you can organize it, because don't let that food go to waste. Let it feed healthy families and healthy children in your community. But by cutting down on your waste, you're also going to save extra money that you can use towards organic food. So it's still edible. So if you have like small bits of vegetables left over, throw them into a baggie and freeze them so that when you have enough, you can use them in a soup or a stew or something that you will add to it that will make a nutritious meal. A lot of the food isn't bad, but we just throw it away because we don't want to eat it again. So freeze it and keep it so that you can use it the next time. Here's some other ideas. Save your veggie scraps. From onion peels to the tops of carrots to potato skins, it's not something that you think is appetizing to eat, but they can be used to make a veggie stock. Cooking all those vegetables on low with some herbs, salt, and other seasonings pulls out all the nutrients and makes a very wonderful veggie stock that then can be a base for soups and stews. You can then strain the vegetables and either throw them into the compost to nourish your vegetable garden or turn them into dog food, only if there's no ingredients that would make the poor dog sick, like garlic and onion, or the skins of like onion peels. You wouldn't want to be feeding your dog that. The next thing is to pickle your peels. Did you know that orange peels and even watermelon rinds can be candied and pickled and turned into a snack? Here's a food that we would otherwise toss out that can actually make a really yummy snack or dessert. Google it and you'll be able to find ways to pickle your rinds and your skins. The next thing is, I can't have chicken. That's another one of my sensitivities. So we eat turkey quite often. So we don't always have enough bones to make a broth from one turkey breast, but we collect them in the freezer until we do have enough bones, and then we make our own broth. So again, that's another savings where I can use that money for something organic. Kitchen sink stews. Have a bit of extra tomato left over from dinner, or an extra potato that no one will eat, or carrots that are going to go bad soon. Chop them up, stick them in a container that waits in the freezer, and then when it's full, throw them all together into a stock pot with your bone broth and make a kitchen sink stew. Add some curry in to give it an interesting flavor and mix it up. Serve it with rice, bread, and a salad, and voila, you've got an extra meal that you spent no money on at all that gives you money to spend on organic. Leftovers remade. I'm not a big fan of leftovers, but it's mostly a psychological thing because they sometimes feel old. So what you want to do is like remake them into something else, like a Thanksgiving casserole where you layer turkey and then stuffing and then mashed potatoes. That makes a wonderful casserole. So break out your casserole dish and spread the foods in there and then pop it in the oven. It's a brand new dish. It's extra food that you would have wasted. And so again, it's extra disposable income that you can put towards organic. Add some extra sauce and turn them into a stir fry, or throw the leftover stir fry into a pan with some eggs and make egg skillet dish or eggs foo young. Nom Nom Paleo has a delicious recipe for eggs foo young, by the way, and she also has a brown sauce recipe that you can put over them that's quite yummy. And she also has an apricot jam sauce that you can put over your egg foo young. All of them are yummy options. And eggs for a meal are not a terribly expensive meal. So even though you're buying quality organic eggs, that itself could be a low-cost meal to save you money for other disposable income for organic food. A plain old leftover night is good too, where you eat all the leftovers that you've put into the refrigerator. The biggest budget killer of all time is making sustainable changes to your diet. It's a rhythm. So if you haven't been cooking and you say you don't have time for it, if you start to cook and you don't have to cook like Julia Child, you can just steam some vegetables and make a piece of meat that's about the size of the palm of your hand, and you've got a nutritious meal that did not take you very much time to make. I bet it would make you could make that meal faster than you can jump in the car and run over to fast food. You're going to save that money and you're going to make a high quality meal. We all can toot the busy horn, but not too many of us are walking around twiddling our thumbs without nothing to do. But when you get into a rhythm of cooking, it becomes a very quick thing. When I get up in the morning, I go into the kitchen and I figure out what meat do I want to make that night. Then I check what vegetables do I already have ready to go in my refrigerator. I make a note if there's something I want to make and I need an ingredient. Like, I'm going to make Italian wedding soup tonight. I need to buy some additional spinach and parsley. I have everything else I need to make the soup, and it's Daniel Walker's recipe, by the way, and it's fabulous. So I know what I'm going to make. That takes me, 5 minutes? I've taken an inventory of what I've got and what I need, and then I'm back. I'm off to the office, or I'm back in my office working and ready to go. At 6 o'clock, I go into the kitchen and it really doesn't take me long to put dinner together because I already know what I'm going to do. I've already defrosted my meat. I already know what vegetables I'm going to use. So voila, I have a meal on the table with about 30 to 40 minutes worth of prep time. And then maybe it's in the oven cooking or maybe it's on our plates ready to eat. But it didn't take me any longer than it would have taken me to jump in the car and run someplace to pick up food, only now I know what I'm putting into my body. Cook in bulk. I like to cook on Sundays. I like to cook more than one meal and freeze it in glass containers with silicone lids. That way I have several meals ready to go for future days. It's a great way to get ready for the week and make cooking really easy because you have food that's all ready to eat. You're also eating quality food for less money. So again, you have more money to make sure that what you're putting in your body is all quality. Include rice dishes, casseroles, stir fry, a whole chicken that can be picked apart and used for sandwich wraps the next night. You can even make an extra smoothie and put it into popsicle molds for a treat later. So think ahead, make multiple meals at the same time. Cook ahead, not exactly the same thing as cooking in bulk, but what I mean is using my crock pot or my Instant Pot and cooking enough and cooking ahead. If you find that at the end of your day is the craziest and when you're most likely to be starved and shoving unhealthy food into your body, hopefully you've gotten your crock pot all set up. First thing in the morning, it's been cooking all day. You walk in the door, you don't have to be craved. You know what you're going to eat. It's all ready to go. So planning ahead doesn't take up very much brain power, but it does make some beautiful meals for you to make yourself. So again, you're saving money and you're eating quality ingredients. Simplify your meals. If time is tight and your budget is tight, make your meals simplified. Fruit and raw vegetables work just fine for an entire meal or for a snack that require no work. Maybe you can find foods that can be roasted together in the oven. I love roasted vegetables. So if you've cleaned all the vegetables that you bought at the market on the weekend, you just have to cut them up and put them on some parchment paper and roast them in the oven. Different vegetables roast for different amounts of time. So I just printed out a roasting guide that I have on my refrigerator so I know how long each thing takes. So you toss it in a little bit of ghee, you throw it in the oven, you roast it for the appropriate amount of time. It takes the time to chop it, but that's not very much time. And then you're not doing anything while the vegetables are roasting, and yet you're getting really yummy food to eat with your dinner. Or make a simple salad, but with a fancy homemade dressing to shake it up. I have several homemade dressings that I love to make. One of my favorites is, again, Danielle Walker. She's a great cook. I've enjoyed using her recipes. She has a dairy-free ranch dressing that tastes just like real ranch dressing, only it's clean and it's fresh. So it's really delicious. It can use fresh dill or it can use the spice dill that's dried, but it's yummy, and it uses coconut cream and then soy-free mayo and lemon juice, and it's really a yummy dressing. But olive oil and vinegars also make lovely dressings. So make your dressings homemade, use fresh garlic and fresh shallots, and make your own dressings because it'll make all the difference in the world to your salads that you're making. Multitask better. You usually spend an hour or more watching television in the evening, so take a couple of those evenings to cook up some snacks. Prepare sliced carrots and dips, make things like bread while you watch TV. You just mix it up and then the bread is making while you're back to watching your television shows. And if you're already in the kitchen for one meal, why not prepare the next day's meal at the same time? Multitasking, and women are really good at multitasking because as scientists have learned, we multitasked back in the paleo days while the men were out getting the deer, so that the village wouldn't starve. Women were multitasking. They had the child on their hip, they were growing the vegetables, they were taking care of the community, they were socializing, they were pounding the maize, they were doing all different things all day long so that there was adequate food for when the meat came back with the men to have some wonderful meals that were good for the body. So do multitasking. There's no reason why you can't prepare 2 meals at the same time and save yourself the next day from making food. While you're there, throw some apple slices into your dehydrator to cook overnight while you sleep. They make a fabulous, fabulous snack. And you can also dehydrate on a really low heat if you don't have a dehydrator in your oven, so don't be afraid to do that. The next thing is to only shop with a menu and a list so that you're not buying things that you don't plan to use, which will cut down on waste and also give you all the ingredients you need to do your cooking with. So if you're busy searching for and filling your cart with what you've planned, you don't notice all of the impulse buys that you used to make, because that is spending disposable income. So you're saving money because you know exactly what you're there to purchase. It also helps you shop in bulk better, and you can hit the store less often because you are prepared and you have planned ahead. Cook smaller. Now, I just talked about cooking in bulk, which is cooking bigger. So now I want to talk about cooking smaller, which is a different thing. I don't mean smaller meals. I mean chopping up your vegetables or meat into smaller pieces so that they cook faster and save you time. Instead of roasting the entire butternut squash, chop it up and boil it instead. Little things like that can decrease your cooking time and the time you're standing on your feet in the kitchen, so that you're investing less time in cooking your meal, but you're still getting high quality, yummy food. Food prep in advance. Now, this is something I love to do. I love to wash all my vegetables when they come in the door. So get everything ready to go and doing prepping in bulk. So chopping tonight's carrots and tomorrow's carrots at the same time, throwing an extra onion in the food processor to use later in the week, making up a batch of your favorite seasonings to store in used seasoning containers, and make sure you label them so that you know what they are. Next tip is to get better organized. This might mean anything from where and how you store your food in more convenient, easy to reach places. We have a big bowl of fruit on our counter, and so when I'm making breakfast, I grab a piece of fruit. We actually cut it right at the breakfast table. I wash it, and then it's there for us to eat with our oatmeal or with whatever else, our eggs or whatever else we're eating for breakfast. But it's there, it's handy, it's at eye level. I don't forget it, and I don't waste the fruit this way. Take your snacks and don't let them be in the back of the cupboard. Put them on the front of the shelves so that your healthy snacks are what you're going to grab when you're hungry, and get them all organized and ready to go. Having a stash of 15-minute meals to choose from will keep you from being tempted to run to the drive-thru, and which always is going to take you longer than you planned. Even just having several dedicated menus that you rotate through every month of meals that your family enjoys that are fast and easy to cook makes it much easier to cook real food to serve your families. Okay, next one. Look up some cooking tips and tricks. Let yourself be an old dog that learns how to cook better and smarter. If you're not much of a foodie, you still will like learning little trade secrets. Like, I didn't know forever that by taking a clove of garlic and smashing it with my knife, loosened the skin, so I wasn't spending a whole lot of time peeling the clove of garlic. You smash it, the skin comes right off, and it goes right into my mini chop where it can get ground into small pieces of garlic. Same thing with shallots. Onions, I actually do peel, but then I cut them into quarters and throw them into my mini chop, and then my onions are all ready to go. Find easy ways to help yourself cook. I also love my mini chop. You're going to want a certain amount of equipment to help you cook quickly, because that will make your cooking so much easier. So my mini chop does all my herbs, my garlic, my onions, my shallots, my parsley, my dill, my rosemary, all that stuff gets ground up in my mini chop. So I'm not doing all kinds of chopping that takes up too much time, and I don't have the patience for it. So that's the first tool. The next tool that I use, I make a lot of soups in my Vitamix. Yes, a Vitamix is more expensive, as a blender, but you will amortize it really quickly if you start doing things like steaming vegetables, throwing them in your Vitamix with some nut milks, some ghee, and some seasonings, and voila, you have soup, or adding some vegetarian soup broth to it or some beef broth to it, voila, you have soup. You can make a lot of very inexpensive meals by having a Vitamix. I use my Vitamix to do my morning shake. I do a collagen shake some mornings. My Vitamix gets used all the time and it saves me a lot of time. And then my next thing that I use all the time is my Cuisinart. I'm not going to sit and grate by hand. Zoop. It goes through the Cuisinart. It grates all the vegetables that go into my meatloaf or into my soups. Make it easy for yourself. Use tools that are quick and fast and easy and allow you to use real food. And I love to make meatloaf where I take grated carrots and celery and onion and zip them through my Cuisinart, roll them right in with the meat, and then into the oven he goes. It makes him more yummy. It makes him more nutritious. It saves on meat costs because I've cut it down with vegetables, so it's a win-win-win all the way around. We just bought an air fryer. It's my new favorite tool. Nothing is better than air-fried zucchini fries. Wow, I make ranch dressing. I make that Daniel Walker ranch dressing, and they're yummy, and I'm getting all the nutrients from my organic zucchini. But I've also made potato fries in there. We've made wild-caught salmon in there. I've cut up little discs of eggplant, the long, skinny eggplants, and I've cooked them in there. There's all kinds of stuff you can do in your air fryer. Shrimp is fabulous in an air fryer. And again, it doesn't take long to make shrimp in an air fryer. So one at a time, splurge on the kitchen tools that you need to make nutritious meals because they will amortize themselves, and in the long run, you'll save money because you're not eating that food out, and it's probably yummier and more nutritious for you. Routine matters. So getting into a routine when you're in the kitchen, knowing where all your tools are, having them ready to go, having your cutting boards ready to go, having your oven ready to go, being able to grab all your cooking pans and your cooking dishes to throw things into, all of that, if you know where it is and it's ready to go, it will cut your time in the kitchen and allow you to make more nutritious meals. What not to cheat on. These are the things not to compromise on. Meat. Again, I explained to you why it's important to eat meat that eats his own specific diet. And trust me, the fact that that meat is more expensive is worth it. So just eat a little bit less. And don't fall for misleading labels. Natural means diddly squat. So does farm raised, the newest attempt to romanticize factory farms. Even labeled antibiotic-free or free-range can mean very little, especially when it comes to chickens who aren't given antibiotics but are still raised in brutal conditions and fed a grain-fed diet. And I just found out a lot of times chicken are fed arsenic to fatten them up. So you don't want that stuff. You really do want the skinny chicken that's been running around in the pasture eating berries and grass and bugs so that he's most delicious. Okay, when we come back, next podcast, we're going to talk about other places to buy organic food, other places to find out where your closest CSA box is or your closest co-op is, different ways that you can find healthy food. Things like Thrive Market, which I utilize. It's a membership, so I save 20 to 40% every time I order groceries, and they're delivered. What's not to love? So we'll go over that again. And then I'm going to go through labeling, because there's a lot of terms that mean something and a lot of terms that mean nothing. And I want you to know what the terms are and aren't meaning when you're learning to read labels and eat healthier food. So thank you for joining me. I hope that I have convinced you that not eating poison will serve you much better than eating factory farmed produce that has been sprayed with herbicides and pesticides. And we went through last time all the terrible things that those things do to your body. So now we've talked about how you can come up with other places to save money on your budget, I'm sure, where your kids could make their own Christmas presents. There's all kinds of places to save money. If it's important to you, you're going to find ways to save enough money so that you're going to have money to put it where it's going to serve your bodies the best and save you in healthcare costs down the line. So that's going to be fantastic. So thank you for joining me. Never forget, if you have limited money, start with the Dirty Dozen Clean 15. If it's on the Dirty Dozen list, that's where you start with your organic monies, and then you buy your other vegetables, more conventional. But there's a lot of chemicals on all that stuff, so I still want you to buy as much organic as you possibly can. And then we'll be back next week talking about food labels and what all those terms mean. Thank you so much. It's really not hard to eat healthy and to cook for yourselves and cook for your families. So I want to get you into the kitchen so you discover just what the differences are. And if you would do it for just 3 weeks and eat real food for just 3 weeks, you'll start to feel the difference in your body, and you'll start to understand why it's so important for you to be eating this way. So thank you. I'll see you again very soon. Hello, could I see a show of hands if there's anybody out there like me who's tried to lose weight their whole life and not been successful? So you've tried all the different diets available. You've tried Weight Watcher. You've tried Jenny Craig. You've tried all the New York Times bestsellers. And the last time you did it, you started off great, just like all the other times. And you started losing weight, and then all of a sudden you fell off the horse. And before you know it, you're eating fast food and processed food again with all that sugar, and you don't even know why. And in the end, you've gained more weight than where you started out. So you now are beating yourself up that you just don't have the willpower to win. If that's you, I want to address the elephant in the room, because 9 years ago I got autoimmune disease and started researching because I didn't want the pain that came with the autoimmune disease, and the added benefit was I lost the weight along the way. So let me tell you what happens. Big Food doesn't want you to win. They've rigged the system. They've put so many chemicals into fast food and processed food that they light up the brain like a pinball machine. It's the same part of the brain that goes off for cocaine and heroin, and you feel great when you eat that food, but it's not making you feel good, and you're starving your body for nutrition because it's loaded with empty calories. So you're getting fat eating that food, and it's not giving your body what you need. And it's turning off all your own feel-good hormones of serotonin and dopamine and even your insulin, which keeps your moods even. But worse than that, there's two little hormones here at the back of your neck called ghrelin and leptin, and they don't work, and they regulate your appetite because all those chemicals have subdued them, so you don't even know when you're full. So what did I learn to do instead? I'm eating the GLAD diet, loaded with all the phytonutrients that my body needs to be healthy and to thrive and to boost my immune system and to ditch the pain. And along the way of eating all this live food, I lost 60 pounds without dieting. You see, I was starving my body for nutrition when I was eating the standard American diet, and now that I'm giving my body all those beautiful phytonutrients, it's not holding on to it anymore, so it's just dropping it automatically. So don't eat the standard American diet. I don't want you to get a standard American disease, and I certainly don't want you to die the standard American death. Instead, start eating the GLAD diet, because by eating all those beautiful phytonutrients, you will be healthier and you will live long and thrive. Thank you.